Okay, I'm going to show you how to make a really quick, easy mask. You're going to start with 2 strips of fabric about 1.5 to 2 inches wide, the entire width of your fabric bolt, so about 40 to 44 inches depending on how wide your fabric is, and 1 8 by 18 piece of fabric. You can do 7 by 16, it makes it slightly smaller, but I wouldn't go any bigger than 8 by 18. So what you're going to do is you're going to take that 8 by 18 piece, and on your 2 short ends you're going to fold the fabric wrong sides together about 1/4 inch or so, and you're going to stitch that down. Use a short but wide zigzag stitch. That will help prevent the fraying as they get washed. So let me angle this just a little bit here. So simply zigzag across. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. If you're putting in a nose wire, you would put the nose wire in at this step. And you would zigzag over top of that in between is how I would do it. I would put my wire here, fold over top, and then zigzag over top of my wire. If you're not putting wire, then you don't have to worry about that. So again, just roughly 1/4 inch. I'm not even measuring, as you can see. Short stitch length, but wide stitches. To tack that down. So hopefully you can see that gray fabric. Let me get that up closer so you can see. Okay, then you're going to leave your right sides together, and you are going to again stitch. You can continue to, I just leave it on my zigzag so I don't have to remember to go back and switch back and forth. You can do this step on just I do don't have it quite so wide when I do this one. But you can do just a straight stitch. You can do a straight stitch on these 2 sides because you're going to turn this inside out anyway. So that's up to you. I don't like having to switch back and forth. Whoops! And the vibration moved my phone. Sorry about that. Okay, so we have those basted together, essentially one big pocket. Flip it inside out. Push your corners out. And then you're going to make your pleats. Okay, I'm going to move my camera so you can see that happening. If you have a pleat jig that makes that easier for you, then go for it. But I'm just going to make 3 pleats of roughly 1/4 inch. Again, I don't do a whole lot of measuring. I'm pretty good at eyeballing my pleats. So now I'm going to get back up here on my machine, and I'm going to stitch these down. The reason I'm not worrying about back stitching right now is because my tie straps are going to go over top of this and reinforce everything. So I'm just adjusting my pleats on the other side. Stitch those down. Okay, this is probably the simplest version of a mask you can do. But here's your mask. Pocket opening at the top. It would go over your face, and we'll get those straps on. Now, like I said earlier, my straps are not full length because I wanted to be able to show you in a real quick video how to take care of this. If you didn't do this when you made your bias tape, fold about 1/4 to 1/2 inch in so that it is those raw edges are completely contained inside. So this was a 2-inch strip, so depending on how nimble your fingers are. So I've got my little strip there, and I'm gonna move my camera up again so that hopefully you can see a little better. 1 second. Sorry, I'm improvising this morning. I don't have an actual stand to hold my phone to do videos. So, let's go forward a little bit. And I forgot to widen my zigzag back out, so let me do that. Back stitch. Make sure that the end of that tie is nice and secure. Okay, prior to putting this in, I would have marked the middle of my tie, just so I knew roughly where it was at. It doesn't have to be perfectly even because the ties are going to be way longer than necessary anyway. But then I put my pleats, my pleated mask, in the middle of that tie. When I get to the mask, this is where I'm going to go ahead and backstitch again. So I've got forward, backward, forward. So I have 3 layers of stitching over the corner where the tie strip meets the corner of my mask. So it makes it nice and secure. And then go all the way down. I have a really old, simple machine. It likes to kind of groan over the thicker layers. But she's a workhorse. And then continue out the rest of your strap. When I get close to the end, again, I fold this over. I know that light is really kind of glaring, but I fold that over. And get in here. Hopefully you can see that, but I fold it over about 1/4 to 1/2 inch. Again, you can do this when you actually iron your bias tape if you're ironing it, so that you don't have to mess with this step right now. I just did a real quick version. I actually don't even iron my bias tape, and I'll show you how I do that when I do the other side. So, the ends of that ribbon are completely encased. Gonna back stitch. And clip it off. Now, this would be obviously much, much longer so that you can tie it around the back of your head and the back of your neck. If you are pretty nimble with your fingers, you don't even have to iron and make the bias tape. Just take your 2-inch fabric, find the middle of it roughly, lay it right sides together over top of your pleats, and I tack it down. So I just tack that down right sides together so that when I fold it over, I'm going to get my strap. Then I take my strap and I fold the ends in. I fold to the middle. So that's like my bias tape. It's exactly what it is, just without the ironing. If your fingers are really nimble, you can do that relatively easily, relatively quickly. Back stitch. And then as I sew, I'm just folding this in on itself. Hold on. Wanted to stay on top of itself right there. So I just fold it in on top of itself as I sew through. It takes a little bit of practice, probably 3 or 4 times it took me doing it this way before I got relatively efficient at it. Again, when I get to my mask, I back stitch, continue on, just Just double check, make sure that I'm quarter folded to the center, on top and bottom. Back stitch when I get to the end of my pleats. Then I'm going to take the end of my ribbon again, fold it in, fold my quarters to make my fake bias tape. So, regardless of whether you iron or you just fold as you go, you still get the same product on both sides. Hopefully that was helpful.